Well, hello everybody, and welcome to my journey on taking on the D-Rex boss, aka the Derposaurus Rex, or Derpy for short. So, this is Jurassic World's take on what if Bailey from Finding Nemo had arms, legs, pointy teeth, and arms on his titties. That's right, he's got arms on his titties. So I wonder if the palms of his hands have nipples on them. I'm thinking maybe that's why he's so eager to grab things. Maybe it excites him a little bit. So to get into things here, these first two attempts were from the first release of this event. And because of the dinosaur restrictions, I assembled a team that I thought would work. Unfortunately, I failed the first event because I learned the hard way that cheat death is permanent. It really, really screws you over if you don't have a nullifier. So here, I started with a Panthera and our good old Crocodile, and I set that up for a first turn stun. So it says it has about a 10% chance once you use Affliction, but it's more of a 5% chance. So you're going to have to do many, many retries of this battle until you get proper stun luck. Second turn, you have the Sacromantarx, and he can set up a second turn stun as well as bleeds. He has an attack that does affliction, bleeds, and a chance to stun. So again, another quote unquote 10% chance to stun. The third turn, you are going to have to give your dinosaurs enough HP to survive. 4211 was enough for the Sarcomantarx, and he tanked it. He lived, so that's all he needed to do. Also, you're going to see that Panthera and the Crocodile can also stun again on the fourth turn. But from there, while watching these next two attempts, you're going to find out that cheat death never expires and it will just tear your team apart. My first run, I used the Triceratops to essentially get bleeds on the first turn. The second turn, he has a priority rend, which does a considerable amount of damage. And because you need to get a lot of damage on this boss, that's the team I decided to use. Because of the dinosaur restrictions, I found that you are paywalled to get the Draco. And because I didn't have enough coins to get the Draco, I opted not to finish the event on the first release, so it was a failure. The second release, though, I was able to get enough coins to get him created. So I was all set to go with Draco the second time around. From here on, I'm just going to sit back, quiet myself, and just let you enjoy my first two attempts. And you can learn a little bit about how this battle can be changed around, different dinosaurs you can use, and different strategies you can come up with yourself. And as you can see here, it doesn't matter how many times you stun him. If you don't have a nullification and he's got Cheat Death active, there's not a whole lot you can do. He's just going to outlast you. He's just going to cast it every single turn and eventually wipe you out. Cheat Death, Cheat Death, Cheat Death. Very annoying. I did learn a lot through my first run, though. So again, because of the dinosaur restrictions, I was able to get enough coins to get Draco the second time round. So I was all ready to go for the second release when they put it out again. The only changes that you really need to do is you need to make sure your Panthera and your Draco have higher speeds than your other two, because they do have to go first. Otherwise, it will ruin your stun setup on turn 1. Now for this team, my strategy I focused on affliction, bleeds, stuns, and you'll find that you can't use your Referentum's priority moves because it will ruin your stun setup. So just use basic Cunning Strike on the first turn, and that will make sure that he doesn't go ahead of the other two. Sacramentex can use his bleed on the first turn. You're going to set up your first turn for affliction, stun, and you're going to need to rinse and repeat until you get the first stun, because if the first stun fails, your run is over. So you've got to redo the battle over and over and over again until you get that 5% chance. So rinse and repeat, retrying the battle. You really need that first turn stun. Come the second turn, your Sacramentarchs has an ability, and it's going to afflict, stun, and bleed. Now, if you're lucky, you can get 2 stuns in a row, and that will just be a perfect run for you, and you'll be all set to go. So you can only use Sacramentarch's stun on the second turn because it has a 1-turn delay. You can't use it on the first turn, which is why he came in as a backup. Following this, Panthera uses a vulnerability strike, and what that does is it makes Draco's Ren damage more effective, and then you're just going to follow that up with Referentum's high damage Cunning Strike. You still can't use your priority moves because you don't want to ruin the sequence, and that will bring you all the way to turn 3. Now that we're at turn 3, your Referentum will use its damage reduction, and it'll also use its bleed, and that'll reduce the damage from Derposaurus's heal attack. So it'll help you be a little bit more tanky. It'll help you survive a little bit longer, assuming your second stun has failed. And it's the only attack where you really have to worry about tanking. This is the only one that's mainly going to get through. So here, on this attempt, I used a rend with Draco, and I altered that strategy for my next attempt. On this one, you're going to see him use a rend. That's going to give him about anywhere from 65 to 7,500 damage, depending on whether or not he's set up with vulnerability. Because if you use a normal strike with Panthera, it'll give him vulnerability and extra damage. But with Panthera's priority move, it does enough to make up for that extra 1,000. It's important to have Panthera on the team also because it nullifies all the effects it gets from that heal attack. And here's Draco's Rend. Set up a bleed just to get that extra damage in. And you're all set up for turn 4. Now, turn 4, I got a little greedy, and I decided to go for a 4th turn stun, which is why I end up failing this run. And I found out that if I had just attacked him with Draco's Rend, I likely would have won this match. But unfortunately, I got a little greedy, and it didn't work for me. Well, live and learn. So I tried for a 3rd turn stun, and he uses his cheat death here, so that's why you have to have your Referendum's nullify ability. So the nullify went through. I went for a 4th turn stun, and unfortunately it failed. And ultimately, while he did take out my team, he also died. So I killed him, but it was a fail because you cannot lose more than 2 dinosaurs. Because I lost at least 3, I lost my whole team here. It was a failure. It was over. And I had to restart. And there you have it. He goes down. And here comes my winning run. Now, on my winning run, you will see that it's essentially the same strategy. I did change up turn 3, though. So when it comes to turn 3, you're going to see a change I made to make this more effective. So again, use the Affliction, use the Stun, use the Cunning Strike, use the Bleed, and it's ready to go. And rinse and repeat until you get the first turn stun. Luckily enough, first turn stun. There you go. While he's stunned, his affliction continues going, so your bleeds actually do more damage. Now we come up to turn 2. Now you see on turn 2, I went for the stun, and unfortunately the stun didn't work, but it really didn't matter because the strategy still works as long as the first stun succeeds. So you're going to use a vulnerable strike with your Panthera, and that's going to set up your increased rend damage. Unfortunately, I didn't get the stun, but it still worked out. You'll see while he's vulnerable, it goes from 6,500 to 7,500 damage on the rend, so it really does help to get that in. And then just a high damage cunning strike with your Referendum, because you don't want those priority moves getting in the way yet. Now we get to turn 3. This is where all the changes come into effect. Now the biggest change that I made here was the Referendum still uses its damage reduction and bleed, and that reduces the attack you take. But the difference is the Draco. He's going to use his buff ability this turn. So instead of taking extra damage and doing an extra damage this turn, he's going to sit this one out because he's going to buff his critical chance. He's going to buff his damage to the entire team. And that is going to give you more damage than he can do with 2 Rens alone. And with Panthera's Affliction on turn 4, that's going to turn his 6,500 and 7,500 damages into one attack that does 20,000 damage. And you're going to see the sheer amount of damage that he's going to spit out is just plain ridiculous. So here's the one attack you have to tank. It was a crit, but they survived. Brings his health up to 30. The counterattacks, the bleeds, bring him under 20, which brings him in range of that rend attack at the end. Perfect, perfect situation. Cheat Death is not active, so on this run I actually got to skip it over entirely. But I did have my Referendum sitting there just in case I needed to nullify, but he didn't actually have to, so I just went with a normal attack for him. But because his attack is above 16,000, you get to skip Cheat Death entirely. And once you afflict him and use your rend attack, $20,000 damage, and it wiped him out. Now, this was my winning run, and assuming you can get 2 stuns, your whole team can survive. But because I failed my second stun, I lost one. So that's it. I hope it helps. Bye-bye.